loved the support that I've been getting here by all the supporters, so it's been great. We aren't talking about money issues here. It's just the right thing to do and the right time to announce it, and the players understand it. It gives the club the opportunity to get out there and find a suitable replacement. I haven't been able to have the influence I'd like in the entire organisation, and sometimes that happens within organisations. Not everyone are best friends, and some people operate better without other people around, and I'm hoping that's the case. It's not healthy for the club, and it's not healthy for me either. There's some relationships that aren't as close as they should be. They don't complement each other, and that happens. When you've got people who don't see eye to eye and don't pull in the same direction, it affects the business. It's not healthy. For those reasons, something has to give. The give is me. I'll move on and allow the club to get the appropriate person for the position.
Yeah, quite a bit to unpack, isn't there?
Wow. There is a lot in that, isn't there? There really is. And I mean, clearly there's a rift between Tony and the leadership elsewhere in the club.
Yeah, I think
he doesn't feel like they're listening to how he thinks the club ought to develop.
It's reading between the lines, and with all the stuff that's come out as well, it seems like it's not Neil Hudgell where the rift is between it. So it must be Paul Lakin, the CEO there at OKR, who has been praised a lot for some of the stuff he's been doing off the field, getting the club into a position to buy the stadium, even though it was someone else's money that did that. The stuff with Craven Street. They have been building the squad a bit as well, haven't they? The time. So it seems like that must be where the rift is. It's a shame that it's obviously got to a point where it means the club need to go looking in a different direction coaching wise, though, because Tony Smith has done a fantastic job at Hull KR. He made them everyone's second favourite team almost last year, really, other than LFC fans, obviously. He made them entertaining, and he's made them a relevant team again after being, up and down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying recently just how impressed I have been by what Hull KR as an organisation have been doing. They've got a very attractive brand on the field. They're competitive. They've got crowds come back in through the doors. They've sold out games. I think they've done some really good, smart commercial things. So it's a real blow for the club and a real shame I think that we seem to have this falling out behind the scenes that's now spilled out into them losing someone who's been a key part of what seems to have been a very positive development over the last 18 months.
And there's an element of airing dirty laundry that doesn't need to be aired, but at the same time he hasn't gone into specifics, so it leaves questions open for what's gone on there, why that rift's happened. Certainly Tony Smith isn't looking to step away from coaching by everything he's said. He's he wants to stay in coaching, get another club next year, that sort of stuff. So I'm sure that speculation will pick up as we find out more and more which clubs' coaches will be moving on at the end of the year. But that's for the future to talk about. I suppose for here and now, let's talk a bit about what the fans have said on this decision. So we'll start with Always in Our Shadow, who's a Hull FC fan. He says, argument over Takarangi or just realise you can only top polish a turd so much? I'd never even considered that it could be something to do with some of the bits and pieces that have happened with Brad Takarangi in particular being a real off-field shambles of a situation, and maybe one person wants to keep him, one person doesn't, but that hasn't come out in any of this, has it? So I'm not sure if there's anything in that or not.
No, it sounded to me from what Tony said, it feels more like a question of strategic direction to me. But anyway, Karsten says, shocking news. And I'm quite interested, as we all are, Karsten, what is responsible for that? Nothing in his interviews around his 500th game signalled something.
No, but I would say there's been talk, murmurs, that sort of thing all year, hasn't there, about Smith potentially not signing a new contract for next year. So I don't think it's I think it's been a shock in the way it came out and was announced. I don't think it's completely out of the blue that he won't be there next year, but it's certainly surprising. Mark W said the timing of this announcement to make it seem like he was taking the Leeds job is the greatest act of trolling in the history of the sport. And frankly, I'd be okay if Huddersfield were to forfeit the cup semi out of sheer bloody respect. Hopefully, whoever takes over can continue his good work.
Good one, Mark. Paige, well. How the mighty are falling. First Matt Parcell and now Tony Smith. Who is it going to be next week? Coote? Mikey Lewis? Massive blow for KR. Agar in.
And the last comment on this one comes from Hull KR fan Tom Andrews. I think it's fair that we wrap it up with him, really. He says, mixed emotions all week on this. On one side, I don't like how he announced it, dragging the club down a bit and clearly shocked even the closest staff to him. On the other hand, his contract is expiring and he's given plenty of notice to find his successor, whoever that may be. He's been the best coach since Morgs and has got us playing incredible rugby. Shame how it's ending, but thanks, Tony, for what you have achieved. Yeah, Justin Morgan was who got them up into Super League in the first time, wasn't it? 15 years or so ago. So that's quite a big accolade in Hull KR's fans' eyes. We did do a poll on this, David. We asked, will Tony Smith see out the season at Rovers? And we gave 3 options. Yes, that he would be gone when the cup run ends, either after the semi-final or the final, they would hope, or gone before May. Only 26% went for gone before May, and I think it's looking unlikely now, isn't it, at this stage? With only a few days left of April, sorry. But 37% said yes, and 37% said gone when the cup run ends.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I would imagine he will see the season out, personally, unless something, someone became available that Hull KR wanted to move on it, and they did some sort of mutual agreement deal. I wouldn't have thought at this stage that I'd be in the 37% camp that said yes, he will see out a season at Rovers. And
unless something more boils up with the kind of breakdown there. I sort of feel like I'd probably be in the 37% that said gone when the cup run ends, just because then, like, would they want to refocus? However, because they bounced back from the news well with a win at the weekend, it suggests it's not going to hamper them on the field anyway, even if they don't win the Challenge Cup or what have you. If they still remain in a generally good run of form and that sort of thing, then there'd be no reason to see him out of the door when they're making a playoff push still this year.
Yeah.
Let's move on to his nephew then, shall we?
Yes, let's do that. So Rohan Smith has been named the Leeds head coach. They've appointed him on a 3.5-year contract, keeping him with the club until the end of 2025. The 40-year-old is the son of former Hull and Bradford coach Brian Smith and nephew of former Leeds coach, Leeds boss Tony Smith. Smith, who coached Bradford in 2016, joins the struggling Rhinos from Australian side North's Devils, whoever they are. He said, the opportunity to be head coach in Super League is something I've always aspired to do. As a development-minded coach, when I look back on my career, the clubs that I've enjoyed working at most are those who develop their own, and I know that it's part of the Rhinos' way.
Yeah, always in our shadow said, if this is the best Gary can come up with after his escape from CAF, then maybe he should have just gone to Blackpool. No track record, failed miserably with the Bulls. Must be hoping Uncle Tony will come help.
And Barney at Baton Hall Blue said, shows where Super League is in the global game. Despite the league position, Leeds head coach is one of the biggest jobs in European Rugby League, and they pick a guy from the Queensland comp. If the Broncos did think he was a future head coach, they would have demanded some money. That said, I hope it works out, as a competitive Leeds is good for Super League. I'm glad you've got to do Fat Boy Robs.
Oh, it's just a load of laughing faces and poo emojis. So I'm not. I had to delete loads of them to actually fit it into the rundown template, let alone. so yeah, if you can imagine, like 240 laughing faces and poo emojis with one stray sort of weird whistly face. I don't know what that one is.
Yeah, it's a whistle or a kiss, something like that.
But Fat Boy Rob thinks it's a shit appointment that's made him laugh. Is what we can take from it.
I think that's right. Mark W says he may not be the biggest name in rugby, but you only have to look at his record at Bradford. I don't know what that is, by the way. I don't know who his record at Bradford was, to see why Rohan could be just who Leeds need to secure promotion in 2023. Seriously, though, there's too many egos and liabilities in that dressing room, and some big changes will be needed to get them back to their best. For his sake, I hope the club and the fans give him the backing and some patience.
And Tom Andrews says, what happens when you order Tony Smith from Wish.com?
Yeah, it's like the famous time. I can't remember who it was. Saints once signed someone. I'm thinking it was his brother. It did happen. It did happen back in the 80s.
Was it Southampton in the Premier League signed someone who pretended to be George Weah's cousin or something?
Yeah, something like that, isn't it?
I think he lasted half of a game of football and then was binned off.
He realised he'd never played before.
So the poll we asked on this one is kind of a bit of a up in the air one, but we said, is Rowan Smith the right man for the job at Headingley? 13% said yes, 20% said no, and 2/3 of people said who the fuck knows, which I think is where we're at with Rowan Smith. We don't know what he'll be like at this level. All the sort of speculation since has been that, is it Paul Green, the former Cowboys coach, was the person that they offered the job to first of all, who won the Premiership with the Cowboys back in 2016? No, 2017, sorry. And he turned them down because he thinks he can still get a job in Australia. So it sounds like they just rolled into the next town in Queensland and found the head coach there. But no, his record at Bradford, I think, was a 70% win rate, something along those lines. Yeah, it was 14 out of 20, I think, is what I saw when I went looking. He was there for 1 year in 2016, so that might not include all the games he coached, actually. He was there for 1 year, though, in 2016. He oversaw them not make the top four in the championship, but I'm pretty sure that was the year they might have won the championship shield in the sort of repechage, as it were, that rounded out the bottom end of the 3/8s. Look, he's from good stock, isn't he? His dad and his uncle have both been both successful, influential coaches in the last 25 to 30 years. He's served his apprenticeship. He's been an assistant across the board at NRL clubs, and I think he had a spell with Samoa or Tonga, one of those, as the assistant as well. He might have been short-term head coach for one of those nations. Obviously, he had that spell at Bradford. That ended more because of Bradford not having any money still than anything else, I think. Then he's been relatively successful at Norths in the Queensland Cup competition, which is, as he said, the third best tier of rugby league in the world, I guess, on a par with the New South Wales Cup, but certainly behind, the NRL and then Super League. It's there. It's kind of like the championship level of Down Under, I suppose, is what you would say. So he's been a head coach. He's young and enthusiastic. He's said the right things about that will fit into, what Leeds and all the clubs in this country try and do, actually the successful ones, which is bring through a bulk of their own talent in their squad. I think you've got to give him a chance, and I certainly don't think it's something to piss yourself over at this stage. But I just don't know.
Yeah, we just got to wait and see. We just have to wait and see. Not many people had heard of Justin Holbrook before he came to coach at Saints. He had no sort of first team record to speak of in Australia. He'd been an assistant coach, etc. So
yeah, Michael Maguire had only been an assistant coach as well before he came to Wigan.
It's not uncommon for Super League to pull in prominent